Speeds hitting about 8,000 mph, which is probably faster than Nvidia's PR team can spin higher pricing as a feature. Speaking of bleeding your wallet dry, Nvidia is looking straight at your bank account and laughing. I'm starting to think indie devs hire actual gamers while AAA execs are just running Excel macros until someone tells them microtransactions aren't a personality trait. If history is any indicator, the big guys will eventually innovate by copying indies they ignored a year ago, slapping a $70 price tag on it and acting like it's a revolution. And that's the biggest problem right now. You cannot treat your customers like ATM machines and expect them to stay very long. You have to treat them like your customers and that you respect their money and you respect their time. If you do not respect their money, you don't respect their time, why will they respect your game? Welcome to Digital Coffee Gaming Brew, where I'm your digital barista, Brett Dicer, serving you up weekly roast of PC gaming, which is caffeinated, extra bold, slightly snarky, and always piping hot. Sit back, grab your finest pixel cup, and let's roast through the latest gaming news. Spoiler alert, if you're a AAA publisher, maybe get the decaf today. The first up in the fresh news shots is Asus is apparently on a mission to prove your eyeballs aren't fast enough. The new ROG Strix Scar 18 comes loaded with a 240 Hz mini LED display featuring their fancy ROG Nebula ELMB tech. Honestly, at this point, my reflexes are slower than the time it takes Ubisoft games to get a meaningful update, so maybe these displays are just worth showing off your RGB or your uncanny ability to see into the future. But seriously, 18 inches, 5090 graphics card, I mean, it's going to be pretty pricey. The one thing I do like about this computer is the toolless way of upgrading it on the back of it. So no more trying to find your screwdrivers, trying to get your iFixit to perfectly lift up the back panel. You can finally upgrade toolless. So if you have a fancy screwdriver, just don't use it on your laptop because you don't really have to unless you're really going to dig deep into it. I think it's all great, but my issue is that the price of everything in PC is so dang expensive that, well, be prepared for like $5,000 or more for this because it's 240 Hertz. It's a big display. It's got the 5090 on there. It's got the latest Intel chip. I mean, you can go up to 128 gigabits of RAM, but that's probably going to hit you in the $8,000 mark. It's just not going to be pretty. All right, but we're not done with Asus because if you like memory, and of course you do, if you actually have the money to spend it, but Asus has just dropped their first ROG DDR5 RAM with its 48 gigabit kits, speeds hitting about 8,000 mph, which is probably faster than Nvidia's PR team can spin higher pricing as a feature. Plug it in and maybe your next game will finally hit a steady frame rate, unless, you see our next story. But it's RAM. It's going to cost you $900 for a 48 gigabit two sticks. So it's two sticks, 24 and 24. I mean, they say it's lifetime support, but yeah, it's also $900. So it's great that Asus is getting into the memory market, but the memory market is so expensive, then what's the point of getting into it? I don't think it's ever going to come down in price. I still say about 2030, we may be able to start seeing some dips in the pricing for memory, but that's even a very estimated guess since nothing we're seeing so far is showing that this is actually going to ever come down in the short term. But the long term, it could. I'm not really quite sure, but we'll just have to see. Speaking of bleeding your wallet dry, Nvidia is looking straight at your bank account and laughing. The legendary RTX 5090 has been hard to find, specifically if you're looking to bleed your wallet dry. And we've had new ones coming out. We do have the Asus Pro Art one, which is probably going to be around 5K, I'm pretty sure. But since the MSRP has been around $2,000 and we haven't seen anything below that, the price tag is going to be about $300. So look, probably to be spending from $3,300 to, I'm pretty sure, about $5,300, depending on the punishment the third party companies are going to give us for this game. So looking to spend $5,300 for 4K gaming just wasn't punishing enough. Should we set up a GoFundMe account for PC gamers, or is Nvidia simply in the mood to see if your rent money can run Crysis? Because nothing else says PC gaming is getting more expensive than getting more price hikes for a graphics card that was already at MSRP at $2,000 that you could barely find at $2,000. My 5080 I couldn't find at MSRP. I found it at $100 over MSRP, trade in my old graphics card to get it way below MSRP. But that's the only way you can get it below MSRP. And now with these prices, you're not even going to get it below MSRP because no Micro Center or Newegg is not going to give you that much off of your GPU. So if you have money to burn in your pocket, go the 5090. If not, well, sit on your graphics card for a while, because I don't really expect any new cards to come out anytime soon. And this is just getting annoying. Just not a little annoying, but very annoying about getting something that you either have to work with or play games with. It's just getting so expensive that the Steam machine looks great right now. I know it has low specs and everything, but if it's going to be sub $1,000, just go with that. I mean, it may not be able to run Crysis, but at least you can run games at an affordable price. As we pivot hard turn to some good news, Crimson Desert is absolutely crushing it with live updates for almost just about everything you could think of in its, well, not even forgotten single player game. It is taken over by storm from when it launched to now, with bad reviews from critics and regular players going, this is actually not that bad. This is actually pretty good. But Pearl Abyss is always treating players like humans rather than expendable data points. It's so shocking. I have to double check I wasn't hallucinating after huffing too many RGB fumes. And those are a lot of colorful fumes that I have to huff just for you guys. But it is quite amazing just how much they're treating it like a live service, as a live service should be, and just making a laughing stock of really AAA developers that can barely get a game out that's playable. Like, this has been kind of amazing to see what one Korean developer can do with one game. And it's like, wow, that's pretty quick. You're getting all this stuff out. But, well, we'll see what happens in the future, but it looks pretty bright for Pearl Abyss. All right, moving on to now 2K's in the back alley, quietly pulling Lego 2K Drive from digital's shelves. Delisted faster than the speedrun record for disappointed customers. Think you own your game? Think again. Maybe we need a lost and found digital edition at this point, because seriously, the licensing agreement between Lego and 2K is just absolutely abysmal. It is delisting it, and it's not going to be able to be played online after, I think, next May. So get all you can with that, because good luck. Unfortunately, PC gamers do not have Mario Kart for PC, because Nintendo will never, ever, 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 ever release their stuff on PC, regardless of how much they think their Switch 2 is doing in sales, which is not very well, especially with the new price hike. That should definitely get a lot of customers going, maybe I should not get this and get the Steam Deck instead. Because Steam Deck's pretty awesome, not gonna lie. But sorry, Lego fans of the Lego 2K Drive, you're just have one more year of fun and then play by yourself. And then you can sing All By Myself if you really want to, because that's really what it's going to be about. All right, moving on to Marvel Rivals, and Season 8 is out. And on the one hand, and on the other hand as well, because the Infinity Gauntlet can fit on either hand depending on how you actually craft it, is snapping and dropping Devil Dinosaur, Cyclops, and Doomsday into Season 8, but we officially got Devil Dinosaur, which seems like a really fun character, almost in the way of how Jeff is a fun character, but also super annoying. As a healer, you're going to get Devil Dinosaur to be a fun character, but super annoying as a tank. I've seen some gameplay impressions. Looks pretty fun, but man, that update is 50 gigs. Brutal. But why every franchise gets milked to oblivion with a fire hose, Marvel Rivals is doing a pretty good job of implementing it and doing interesting ways of creating characters in the hero shooter genre. I do think in some ways, they put Blizzard to shame with it, because Blizzard's doing great right now with Overwatch. That was originally Overwatch 2 that replaced Overwatch. So we went from Overwatch to Overwatch 2 back to Overwatch, because clearly that is what makes everything run really, really well, is by changing it from the original Overwatch to Overwatch 2 back to going, you know what? This sounds like the original Overwatch again, but more power to them. I mean, they add a lot of features, but I'm glad that we're getting interesting characters in Marvel Rivals. I think it does need some innovative character designs and some thinking outside the box, which I don't think Blizzard does as well as the Marvel Rivals devs teams do. I think Overwatch does a pretty good job of skins for the most part. I think Marvel Rivals does a pretty good job in a lot of their skins too, and then just the sheer amount of ways you can play Overwatch is a little bit better than Marvel Rivals, but Marvel Rivals does a pretty good job of updating the core gameplay loop that I think Blizzard had a hard time doing for a while. I think they're doing a better job now, but they had a hard time before. So this is not to say one is better than the other. I think they're both great games, and I think if you like one, great. If you like the other, great. If you like both, even better, because you can pick and choose which one you want to play. But for the most part, I think this is a pretty good job. All right, moving on to Windrose and Subnautica. Windrose was launched about a month ago, and it finally hit its 2 million sales in 1 month. And man, does that sound good. And then Subnautica, which just released this week, hit 2 million sales in 12 hours. Now I played maybe 10 minutes of it the first day. It's pretty good. Not gonna lie. I think it's improved from the first game in general. So far, I'm quite happy about it. They're both in early access, so things are going to change. But I think these two are a testament to what you can do with games, and I think they do put AAA publishers to shame. And we're going to be discussing this specifically now, as our main roast topic is going to be indie devs rule and AAA drools, because it's no surprising that it's like the new punk rock era of gaming right now, where the indie devs are doing such a great job that a lot of gamers are like, should I get this really expensive game that I can just get a better game from an indie dev that actually cares about making their game? It's really interesting to see, but it's official, and these twos are not just showing up at the big kids gambling table. They're flipping it, clearing the plates, and making the AAA crowd look like they missed the what players want memo. Let's start with the numbers, because trust me, they sting in your corporate office on your coffee budget. And it's going to be a really cheap coffee budget nowadays because of the way Windrose and Subnautica, I just said, happened. So, prospectively, they both sold a bunch of money, a bunch of millions of copies, millions and millions of copies. And Subnautica did a really good job. They sold it in 12 hours, Rose took a little bit. But also Crimson Desert, even with the critics either trying to tank the game or just not understanding the game or not liking the game, people still bought this in droves. The latest numbers I've seen from Pearl Abyss is that their stock went up quite a bit, like 4,000% or something. It was insane amount, but their stock dipped because of critics did not like it, and then the players got their hands on it and they're like, this is a good game, I don't know what everybody's talking about. But also we could say Arc Raiders was the most successful title of 2025, and it brought back the extraction shooter in a way that Tarkov couldn't, because Tarkov, great game if you like the hardcore side of it and the different types of bullet types, different types of this, that, and dealing with cheaters, because you can't get around that. You can't get around the cheaters, but it brought back and made it accessible in ways that Tarkov could not. Tarkov is great for being a very hardcore one, but Arc Raiders is like, we're going to bring this into the mainstream and make this accessible to everybody. And I think that's why they were successful in 2025. Now, they've hit a lot of road bumps. They don't do a good job of getting rid of cheaters. They have switched their development cycle to be yearly instead of monthly, and maybe that is a good thing in the long run. I'm not quite sure, but they seem to think that this needs to happen to be better. But at least in 2025, it was one of the best-selling games. Now, Battlefield 6 was the best-selling first-person shooter game, and that has not been going well for them for months. And they just released Season 3, which I'm going to be talking about next week a little bit more, because I kind of want to play a little bit more to kind of get my hands around it, especially with the new old map, Goldman Railway, which was originally released in Battlefield 4. They brought it back, so we'll see what happens with it. They already have a pretty big roadmap for Battlefield 6, but it is not where the peak was when Battlefield 6 launched back in October. It is roughly around 30 to 40,000 people are playing, which is not bad, but it's not the nearly 600,000 people that played before. And it quickly dropped off because there was a lot of things wrong with it, and there's still things wrong with it. I think Goldman Railway will help with the big map problem. They need more big maps. That is one of the things. And so that is the publisher side of it, or the AAA studios, is that they made a successful game with Battlefield 6. They just don't know what to do with it. And if you care more about your online store and pre-ordering your Battle Pass more than actually making the game fun, nobody wants to play it. So let's just get serious for a second. And by serious, I mean, let's point and laugh at AAA Studios' current, or publishers' current business model. The indie scene is doing what big publishers supposedly can't. Game launched, finished, not in live service beta until further notice. Updates are actual content drops, not 3 new skins and a battle pass unlock, and paywalls, minimal to non-existent. Innovative mechanics, refreshing genre spins, and here's the kicker: fun. Remember Hello Games and their 39 free updates to No Man's Sky? The big publishers are like, giving out a new map with a $20 season pass will bring about the financial apocalypse. Meanwhile, what's the AAA playbook? Overpromised, underdelivered, and when in doubt, slap a paid bundle on it and call it expanded content. I'm starting to think indie devs hire actual gamers, while AAA execs are just running Excel macros until someone tells them microtransactions aren't a personality trait. So where do we stand on this one? Is what I'm getting at is that No Man's Skies, Subnautica 2, Crimson Desert, Arc Raiders are all really good examples of what you can do well with indie games. Now, they all have their issues with, some of them I should say, with AI, and I'm fine with limited use of AI, but it is good to point out that at least 2 of them do have confirm AI stuff, which is Crimson Desert and Arc Raiders. Now they've replaced them and changed them around, but that's where we stand with that one. I at least want to get that out of the way. But it seems like AAA or quadruple A, which I feel like every time Ubisoft's like, this is a quadruple A game, I'm like, oh, so it's terrible. It's not going to be good. Because every time they say that, it's not good. So where do we stand with this? Well, AAA developers need to get back to what made them successful. And that wasn't live service games. That wasn't microtransactions. That wasn't paid DLCs. That was making your game fun. It's not caring about your store first. It's caring about your game first and your store second. Because if you make your game good and fun, the money will come. If you make your game like it feels like you're just making me pay for things, and this becomes a spending money simulator, not a first-person shooter, military shooter, then I feel like I shouldn't really play that much or spend money on you. You got your money. Now leave me alone. But nope. I don't think they can go that way because a publicly traded company will always care about their investors first and the players second. They don't really take the Steam business model, which is care about the customers first. Which if I was a major investor, I'd be like, why are we caring about our customers? Because the money will come if you care about your customers. That's how this works. The problem is they forgot how this works. And they've did the flip-flop. And if you care about how your investors first and your customers last, you're not going to do very well because your investors aren't specifically your customers. Your investors are your investors. I'm not saying that you don't care about your investors' money. I'm saying that they should not be their first priority. So let's not even get started with online communities. Split between 10 different paid packs, battle pass, or premium pools. Yeah, that really works for longevity if your goal is to kill the player base in 6 months. But how? Indie games are unified, approachable, and focused. One complete experience, not some Frankenstein monster of gaming, of content gating. The results? Players are actually coming back instead of rage quitting to go play Minesweeper in protest. And it's really true. I come back and forth to all these games with microtransactions and live service updates because really it's hard to keep up with everything and the FOMO is getting a little old. I'm okay with missing out on things. I'm okay with not getting every single battle pass or whatever because it's really expensive to do that. It's why Fortnite is faltering because their whole premise is their battle pass. Before it was their innovative gameplay and their interesting take on battle royales. It's not that anymore. It's about the live service experience. It's about the skins that you can buy. And they're now trying to turn into Roblox because they see the writing on the wall. So what's next? Will the AAA publishers take notes or will they keep tripping over their stock options in their socks maybe? While indies run off with the trophy. If history is any indicator, the big guys will eventually innovate by copying indies they ignored a year ago, slapping a $70 price tag on it and acting like it's a revolution. Meanwhile, we'll be here sipping our indie roasted espresso, supporting studios who are actually treating us like players, not ATM machines. And that's the biggest problem right now. You cannot treat your customers like ATM machines and expect them to stay very long. You have to treat them like your customers and that you respect their money and you respect their time. If you do not respect their money and you don't respect their time, why will they respect your game? Now, am I saying every indie developer is going to hit a home run? No, there's probably a lot that don't do very well, but there are more and more each year. Indie devs get more successful, improve. You don't need a big publisher to make a compelling game. Look at Tainted Grails, for example. I mean, that game is like the Skyrim alternative. that we've been waiting for. That's not just a remake of Oblivion or Skyrim, the remastered of the remastered of the remastered, the 25th anniversary remastered version of Skyrim. That's what it seems like every time. Bethesda's like, should we actually try to push to make Elder Scrolls 6? Nah, we'll just remaster or remake one of them. It's easier that way. Because that's all what Bethesda does. We got Starfield, which has been gotten better over time, but not that good. We got Skyrim for the 15th remaster of a 2011 game. We've got a Oblivion remake of a even older game. And that's really it. We got Fallout 76 because Fallout 4 came out quite a while ago too. It's been over 10 years, I think. So Bethesda treats us like a vending machine or an ATM machine. They're just a vending machine, to be honest with you. They're like, ooh, how should we name the next Skyrim remaster? The anniversary of anniversaries of anniversaries? The really big dragon remaster. And there's just a really big dragon. I don't know, but here's what I do know. Is that our digital pour over this week, remember, when the corporate says engagement, they mean your wallet. Indie devs, they just want you to have a good time. And I think that's what should be the priority for everybody. Everybody working on games. From BioWare, even though I think they're almost done, to DICE, to Bungie, which, funny enough, Bungie is not doing very well either. Your priority is fun. Your priority is making something that people want to play. And not changing your core gameplay. I'm looking at you, Marathon, to be PvE because, well, you're not doing very well. Probably should really hammer in on what made Marathon the original plan. Not, let's pivot to chill. It's not really going to grab the casuals. If it hasn't grabbed the casuals now, it's not going to grab the casuals when you make the PvE. It's just going to split the community up, but to each his own. So I implore you, AAA devs, AAA publishers, remember to have fun. Remember to make your game fun. Your store second. I'm not saying you make a terrible store. I'm not saying you make money off skins. I'm saying your game play should be the priority. The game itself should be the priority. And everything else is second. This is Brett Deister, your digital barista, saying support the games and the devs that treat you like a gamer, not a sales metric. Subscribe, share the pod, and keep your mugs full and your standards high. Until next week, game on and stay caffeinated.